been on the road for us all year for the majority of the time where, it's like a 4 or 5 minute stretch and the wheels just fall off, and you give a team not only a momentum, but you give them belief that, they're supposed to win that game. And that's a dangerous position to be in, with the amount of talent that's in this league, no matter who you're playing. So sound like a broken record a little bit, but we got to be able to still have faith in ourselves that we can figure it out.
Now back to the morning roast with Bonte Hill and Joe Shasky. Take it away, Bonte.
All right, the Warriors went on a 9-0 run, and you heard from Steph Curry there. It is a broken record, winning on the road. Can they flip that switch in the playoffs? Time will tell, right? Time will tell. They have 2 of their final 3 games on the road, Friday night in Sacramento, Sunday in Portland for a 12:30 matinee. Of course, Portland's not trying to win. However, they beat the T-Wolves last night as 19.5-point underdogs. The Blazers, they rose up from the dead and beat the T-Wolves. T-Wolves 0-2 now without Naz Reid. But here's where we stand right now before we bring in C.J. Holmes of the San Francisco Chronicle. Of course, C.J. does a great job covering the Golden State Warriors. He has a lot of fun on the road, too. You follow him on my Instagram, man. He is living. The Clippers, they're tied with the Warriors. The Lakers are tied with the Warriors. And the Pelicans are tied with the Warriors in that loss column. They all have 38 losses. And the Warriors don't have a lot of tiebreakers here, but they need to beat the Thunder tomorrow. Probably need to win out to at least guarantee that 6th seed. So C.J. Holmes, he comes in, and obviously following the Warriors last night in Denver, they lose another road game. And it's the same story, C.J., as we heard from Steph Curry. It's a broken record. Turnovers, bad shot selection, blown defensive assignments. It just continues to go on here. And even Friday night at Chase Center, the Warriors didn't look great against the Spurs. They're not playing playoff-winning basketball right now, CJ, and I think that's safe to say.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Yeah, it kind of all goes back to what Steph said after that Spurs game the other night. Heading into this Denver game, I remember I asked him, what do you guys need to clean up, heading out of town? And, what he really wanted to say was everything, but, at the core of what he said was, it's about putting together a full effort for 48 minutes, something that, they've been discussing internally as a team seemingly all season long. And, that same issue reared its ugly head in Denver. Great first quarter, soft first half. Second half, the Warriors just let go of the rope. At some point, they must remember they're on the road. And, as you mentioned, when I first came on, that was a critical loss for them.
Yeah.
The win, they would have been they pretty much would have been in the driver's seat for the 6th seed with 2 games left in the left in the regular season. 3. But now, the play-in term looks like a real possibility. So, we've been speculating all year long on, what this team needs to do to, get back on track and, look like the championship contenders they entered the year as. And, they got a couple of games left to figure it out. This team's playing for their life right now.
I feel obligated to ask because everyone does. Do we have any idea on the Wiggins thing? I know that Jason Dumas was reporting that he's back in the Bay Area. Some people are interpreting it one way. Do you know anything? I don't know. Feels unfair to ask.
Yeah, I mean, we all saw Jason's report about, Andrew being back in the Bay Area, and we have seen, different posts by Andrew's girlfriend on social media posting that they're back in the area, but, it's something that hasn't been confirmed on the team yet, and here we are on the last week of the regular season, and there's still no timetable for Andrew will return. Last week, Steve Kerr was kind of, Steve Kerr's always asked about Andrew, but, one different wrinkle to the line of questioning last week is, are you guys prepared for life without Andrew? At that point, he kind of spoke on Dante Vincenzo and the job that he's done in the starting lineup. He started every single game since the All-Star break in Andrew's absence. So, the team, although they'd love to have Andrew back, although they know how much they need Andrew, they're preparing for life without Andrew entering the postseason. Dante DiVincenzo's going to be a big part of that. Gary Payton II is going to be a big part of that. And, it's going to take a collective effort to replace such a two-way stud.
Yeah, no doubt. C.J. Holmes, San Francisco Chronicle, does a great job covering the Golden State Warriors. Follow him on Twitter. I believe at C.J. Holmes. I got to look up your Twitter handle. We'll get that right before the interview is over. But you brought up Dante DiVincenzo, and it feels like, if Wiggins did come back, you could bring him back off the bench where he's, where the Warriors wanted him to start the season. And all of a sudden, your bench unit looks a lot better with Kuminga, Jordan Poole, DDV, and, of course, Gary Payton II. But DiVincenzo in the month of March shot 29% from the three-point line, and it just looks like at times he's just a bit fatigued for all the different roles he had to play, CJ.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of that. Plus, the Warriors have been on the road a lot in the past month or so. So, when they're away from Jason, everyone kind of doesn't necessarily look the part at times. But Dante was great last night. I mean, 18 points, 13 rebounds, and he was fantastic. Those are the kind of efforts they need from him night out. Now, obviously, Dante's not going to shoot the ball as well as he did every night, like he did last night in Denver. But that's the Dante this team needs. They need a guy who can emulate the two-way threat that Wiggins is as close as possible. If there's anyone on this roster who can get that done, it's Dante. Considering his pretty solid offensive repertoire and his defensive intensity out there on the perimeter.
What do you make of some of just the shot selection from this team? Like, we talk so much about the turnovers, and then there's all these, like, what I call hidden turnovers. One guy touches it, and they jack up a 40-foot shot. Clay is prone to do that from time to time. Jordan Poole comes flying down on a 3-on-1 and jacks up an ill-advised layup that leads to a fast break in the other direction. Like, how is that on the coach? Is that just on individual players? How do they fix that aspect? Because that's killing them.
Yeah. Steve likes to call them shot turnovers. When you go down there, you take a bad shot. More times than not, leads to a defensive rebound, team running at the other end. We saw that again last night. When I think of it in its worst cases over the last couple of games, think of that Atlanta game in Atlanta a couple weeks back. They're down, I think, 2 or 3 with like a minute left. And they take like a minute, 2 minutes left, and they're taking 4 or 5 threes in a row. It's a blessing and a curse with this team, right? Those shots go in, no one's complaining, but when they don't go in, it's very noticeable. But at the same time, I remember Steph said after the Atlanta game that, we got to keep taking them with confidence, right? We're all good enough to take them. We're going to take them. It's just that when they're not falling, it looks extra bad. So, like I said, it's a blessing and a curse. So they're dropping, no one's saying anything, but in these close games that are not falling, they're extremely noticeable, and it's costing the team a chance to close out these games.
No doubt. At CJ Holmes 22 on Twitter, at CJ Holmes 22. Want to follow all his work as he covers the Warriors here. 3 games left in the regular season. And looking at that Denver lineup, look, they're not a better team without Jokic, obviously, but they do look a bit more athletic. And going to Jeff Green at the 5, and Michael Porter Jr. had it going yesterday with 27 points combined in the second and third quarter. And Gordon's probably their X factor there. I'm wondering, and Steve Kerr was asked about this before the game, and I think he probably was asked after the game. Michael Green now, with the addition of Gary Payton II, has not got a lot of playing time, and it feels like James G was coming into his own off the bench, playing in his role there. Steve Kerr said he's got to stay ready. I believe James G will stay ready, but boy, he can't get off the bench right now. They need size, CJ. You got to figure that we'll see James G at some point over the next 3 games, right?
Man, look, everyone was saying the Warriors needed size last year, and playing small ball a lot of the postseason, they're able to go to
no doubt
championship, right? So to say they need size, I mean that's like, I don't know how to put this. It's just kind of like an obvious thing, like a lot of folks will say, but it's not. Size can be countered. The lack of size can be countered as long as there's collective buy-in.
Right.
Team rebounds and things of that nature. But, Steve did say, when Gary was healthy enough to, come back from his injury, he said it's going to affect a lot of people. I mean,
no doubt.
Moses Moody was kind of slowly carving out his role again until Gary came back.
Yep.
Jermichael was playing the best basketball he had all season. But the point of the matter is, the Warriors believe that they need Gary Payton on the floor to win. And, and that's what they believe. That's what they need on the floor to win. And, the way how important Gary was in last year's championship run, kind of supports that.
Well, it's funny because GP2 only played 11 minutes last night, and Jermichael didn't play. Yeah, Jordan Poole on the foul trouble there. Lamb gets to 15 minutes. But, look, it's all connected. When Andrew Wiggins, hopefully he does come back. Now everything was slotted. It'll work itself out. But without Andrew Wiggins, of course, it's a who's who. And They're just super small with GP too. In the West, it feels like it did get bigger, but we'll see what happens tomorrow night. Oklahoma City, a pretty big game at Chase Center, the final regular season home game for the Golden State Warriors. We'll see if they can avoid that play-in tournament and finish sixth. CJ, you're always kind to us, man. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks so much for having me.
Anytime. CJ Holmes at CJ Holmes 22. San Francisco Chronicle does a good job covering the Golden State Warriors. And now the JaMychal Green thing is